Sup? This is Greggatron. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well. I sure am. Alright, so I was at work last week and I was talking to this guy who works under me. I'm his supervisor. He's a sub. I'm a supervisor. My job basically is to help people. Basically, it's to teach people how to get on full time. Teach them what they need to know, how the job works, how it's conducted, the proper methods of doing certain things. And I do it from a common sense point of view. So anyway, we get to talking and he doesn't want to be a sub forever. So I told him basically sink or swim. I said, if you're strong, you'll live. If you're weak, you'll die. He said, oh. I said, you know where I got that from? He's like, no, where? I said, Makoto Shishio. He's like, who's that? I was like, you don't know who Makoto Shishio is? He's like, nah, man. I'm like, Rurouni Kenshin, man. And I only asked him this question because I knew he liked anime, because we already had a previous conversation about anime. Anyway, he didn't know nothing about that, which is cool. It's all good. So, anyway, we get to talking about that. The whole ideology of only the fittest will survive. And we had a good conversation. Shout out to my coworker. I'll send you this video. But I was thinking about those words off and on throughout that week. Why does the camera look blurry? Throughout the week and the weekend and now this week. Well, I mean, I need to make a video about this. So, if you don't know, Rurouni Kenshin, that's this. My favorite anime. And Makoto Shishio is the enemy of basically everybody in this picture. So, that's who I'm talking about. That's who the video's about. These are the movies. And the ones featuring Shishio are Kyoto Inferno and The Legend Ends. And you can get these at playtechasia.com, and I'll put that in the description box. Great stuff. But not to promote the DVDs too much. So, Rurouni Kenshin takes place in feudal Japan, and I guess I should start with Kenshin himself. Kenshin was once a manslayer, or I guess in the movies they called him a kill sword. I still say manslayer. Well, long story short, he wants to change his ways. He doesn't want to kill anymore for the government, so he is now repenting for his past actions by protecting people. Today, he carries a reverse blade sword, meaning it's impossible to kill people, unless if you flip the sword backwards, which he ain't gonna do that. But anyway, that's the premise of the show. Protect and serve the weak. Well, anyway, Shishio comes in, and Shishio is Himura's, that would be his successor. Yeah, because Kenshin is Shishio's predecessor. So after Kenshin retired from being the Batosai, Shishio came in. Well, Shishio, long story short, was betrayed by the government. They turned on him and tried to kill him. So he uses that experience to create this whole ideology that he lives by and that he teaches other people. And not only does he live by it, but he truly believes it. So that's where the quote came from in the beginning of this video. I said, if you're strong, you'll live. If you're weak, you'll die. He said that. So in the movie, Kenshin asks Shishio, is this revenge for what the Meiji government, or not the Meiji government, but what the government did to you? And he's like, I have no interest in revenge. I learned a great deal from these scars because he's covered in bandages, the burns. He says, trust and be betrayed. Lower your guard and be killed. Get them before they get you. If you're strong, you'll live. If you're weak, you'll die. These are simple, unequivocal truths, he says. So it's like, I don't even want to say program, but it's in his mind now because he took it from his own personal experience. So I'm saying this to my coworker, but I want to dig a little deeper into that. He's coming from a place of where there's still swordsmen. The sword has been outlawed, but there are some who still carry swords. Basically, they still live in a dangerous world. All right. So you need to protect yourself because anybody can be the enemy, right? If you're strong, you'll live. If you're weak, you die. So it's survival of the fittest, basically. If you're weak, someone's going to take you out. And that's what he lives by. And as far as the government goes, Shishio is like, why should the government be in charge when the government is weaker than me? I'm stronger than the government, therefore I should be in charge. So this guy wants to overthrow the whole government in Japan and create a whole government in his image, or just replace it all together with his own whatever, his own army basically. And this dude was so strong that he had all these people working for him and with him. And a lot of the people who worked alongside with him didn't even like him, but they knew how strong he was, so they followed him or they teamed up with him. And one guy, he has a group of people called the Jupongatana. In the movie they call them the Seven Swords or whatever. Anyway, there's one character who despised Shishio, and he was just waiting for the right chance to stab this man in the back, right? He was waiting, and Shishio was totally aware of this, but he wasn't even tripping off of that dude. But that's how strong Shishio was. But yeah, his whole thing is, I'm stronger than the government, therefore I should be in charge. And his whole thing was, a lot of people are going to have to die in order to create this new world. And I'll get into Kenshin a little later. But again, it goes back to survival of the fittest. So it's like, if you're strong, you won't be taken out by me or whoever. But he knew a lot of people are going to have to die in order to see his goal go through. Well, Kenshin's not having that, and I'll talk about Kenshin a little bit later. But as far as the quote, I can apply that for me physically or financially or the whole work thing, because I do want to be healthy so I can defend myself. That's why I first started lifting weights in the first place, so people wouldn't, quote unquote, try to kill me or attack me or hurt me or harm me or whatever. And the bigger muscles do kind of scare people off. They do make people think twice. So I get it. But also there's someone out there stronger than you. There's always somebody out there better than you. So stay on your toes, right? But again, this guy's coming from a place where there's people carrying swords and all kind of weapons. So in the physical aspect, I think he was onto something. Now, even I can apply that logic financially, because no one wants to be broke. If you're broke, you can't do anything with yourself. Again, sink or swim. Survival of the fittest. the fittest will survive. So in this case, in real life, present day, my life, I would recommend, of course, get a job, be the best employee you can be, come to work early, get that promotion, get that raise. So if you do those type of things, be a leader, I consider you to be the strong. Whereas if you're just a bump on a log, you're the weak. And Shishio believed that the weak should be food for the strong. And again, Kenshin's like, that's not right. So Shishio believed the weak, again, are basically put on earth to serve the strong. Because not everybody can be strong, according to him. Some people are just going to be weak. And it even goes into like, well, the show doesn't, but it makes you think about the haves and the have-nots. But the ideology is so deep that this conversation can just rear out to any direction. Because not everybody's meant to be Michael Jordan. Somebody's going to be Steve Kerr, somebody's going to be Scottie Pippen, somebody's going to be Dennis Rodman, etc. Not everybody can be Jordan. So basically Shishio is saying he's the Jordan of combat. He's the Jordan of swordsmanship. And the government has no business being in charge because it's pathetic and it's corrupt and it's a mess. And it's really not too different from, the U.S. government as far as corruption and whatnot. And they lie and they backstab and all kind of stuff. And they cover up secrets with different secrets. And Shishio's just not having it. He just wants to, do away with this whole system. Because it's so dirty. But yeah, trust and be betrayed. Lower your guard and be killed. Let's talk about that real quick. So he's right about one other thing. You shouldn't be trusting people. Even in the Bible it says, trust no one except for God. Right? You shouldn't even trust yourself. So he's saying, trust and be betrayed. Lower your guard and be killed, which that's a good point. Because sometimes when you let people into your life, and you trust them, they turn on you. And when you have a belief that, this person's my friend or my homie or my comrade or whatever, those are the people who hurt you the most because you were attached to that person. Another thing I believe in is non-attachment, which I got from the Hindu religion. That's a different topic. But trust and be betrayed. Lower your guard. Yeah. Which kind of goes hand in hand. Lower your guard and be killed. Basically have no attachment to people. Therefore, it's impossible for them to stab you in the back. And then he says, get them before they get you. I don't even know how to go about that one. Basically, just be aware that there's evil, not just in you, but in other people. Just be resilient, I guess you could say. But again, he really believed this. And I like Shishio because he wasn't just a physical threat to Kenshin and all the good guys. His whole ideology was a threat to them. Because Kenshin and his friends, they were all about helping people and protecting people who can't protect themselves. But Shishio's like, well, if you can't protect yourself, you have no business living in the first place. He doesn't say that, but that's basically what he's saying. Why go out of your way to protect a bunch of people who can't protect themselves? So it's almost like, if you are weak, in Shishio's mind, you should serve him. Whether it be work for him or cook for him or whatever. Because if you're not strong, you can't bring any value to the table. Like, this dude is so crazy. And let me talk about how strong he is. The dude was crazy strong. And I'm not even going to say the fight itself, how they go about it, because I don't want to, like, spoil... I don't want to spoil the fights and whatnot. Because some of y'all might actually go out and watch Rurouni Kenshin. Or you might have seen it before, but it was a long time ago. So you might have just forgot. But I don't even want to spoil stuff in that aspect. But this guy was so mentally strong and physically. His mental and his physical went hand in hand. And that's why I like Shishio. Because he wasn't just a physical threat. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything he believed, he was, like, ambitious about. Oh, and let me say this. He went about his ideology without using hatred and anger and rage. He's such a great villain because he stayed level-headed the entire time. And logic. He was this logical, I was about to say the A word, this logical A dude. And he didn't want to take revenge, but he wanted to take over in the sense that he's strong and they're weak. Point blank, period. It's just so good. Like, I don't agree with all of it, but it makes sense. Like, let's say you're at work, right? And your boss's boss's boss. Let's say you work at a store and the district manager, not even the general manager, but the district manager is a schmuck or whatever, right? And these people upstairs don't know how to do their job and they suck, they're trash, whatever. As an employee at the bottom of the ladder, you should be thinking, why are these people in charge of me? I'm smarter than them. I'm better than them, quote unquote. So I should be climbing up that ladder. I should be in charge. That's what I get from Shishio as far as present day. He's like, these people in the government are incompetent. My homie is calling me up. What the? I'm going to have to call him back. Don't people know I'm making YouTube videos? That's funny. Hey friend, shout out to you. I'll send him the video and then he'll be like, oh, that was me who called him. But yeah. Oh, so let me talk about Kenshin. Kenshin is like total opposite of Shishio in the sense that had Kenshin went down the wrong path or even deeper into the path that he was going in, it's possible that he could have became Makoto Shishio, but he didn't. He stopped the killing. He wanted to repent for his quote-unquote sins, and he wanted to turn around and help people and serve, protect and serve, because Kenshin was pure of heart. So now we got the good guy aspect going, whereas Shishio never changed. He just got harder and harder and harder and more brutal and more brutal and more brutal. So the question is, who's right? Is Kenshin right for wanting to protect those who are unable to protect themselves? And there's more to it than just that. Or is Shishio right for wanting to lead with strength? It's just so good. Because in my opinion, it's like they're both right depending on how you look at it. They're both right, but it is possible to be on the other side of the coin and to both be right at the same time. It just depends on how you're looking at it. Because one messed up thing about Shishio, he wanted to kill people in the sense that if he needed some land or if he needed resources, he's like, all right, so these people in this area, they're basically gonna have to die. And Kenshin's like, nah, man, you can't be killing people just for this one reason, just so this benefits your cause. But again, Shishio's like, but if they can't protect themselves, they deserve to die. That's his whole thing. If you're weak, get out of the way. Either bend the knee to me for being strong, or just get out of the way. And Kenshin's whole thing is you cannot be like this. You cannot treat people like this. These people want to live in peace. These people want to live happy lives because prior to this era, there was a lot of bloodshed. There was a lot of mayhem, chaos, barbarianism. Well, after the Manslayers were no longer a thing, after swordsmanship was dying off in this new era, this new era was an era of peace. But the former samurai, they didn't know how to live that type of life because all they knew was like chaos and mayhem. So Shishio wanted to bring back an era that no longer existed, whereas Kenshin wanted to move forward with peace. And it's just so deep. It's just so deep. Because you can almost say they're cut from the exact same cloth, but one is on this side of the cloth, and one, I shouldn't even use cloth, I should just say coin. You're flipping the same coin. And it's just so good. And I liked this show when I was a kid. But the more I think about it as an adult in my 20s and 30s, it's like the better it gets. The better it gets. So, I don't know what you guys think. Even if you don't know who Kenshin is or Shishio, or if you don't know what anime is, if you watch this video, you pretty much get what I'm saying. Just replace the names with some other name. But it rings so true today on both sides, in my opinion. I was thinking about this all day, I swear. Oh, this stuff's so good. But yeah. Oh, man. I can just keep talking, but I don't want to just keep talking just to talk. The ideology was there, man. This dude had such a presence, Shishio that is, that even when he's not on camera, they're still talking about this man. And as far as who's right between the good guy and the bad guy, Kenshin versus Shishio, is basically determined by who wins in combat, the fight. Well, here's the thing. The good guy in the show has to win because he's the good guy. But does that mean his ideology is correct? And they get deeper into it in the show when there's different fights. Because there was a young man in the show, his name was Sergio, who Shishio basically adopted as a young man. And this kid who he adopted basically was abused by his crazy family. Well, Shishio taught him as a young boy, if you're strong, you'll live. If you're weak, you'll die. So growing up as a teenager, this young man took that stuff to heart. And when he does meet Kenshin, he doesn't know what to do with Kenshin because Kenshin talks so differently from Shishio. It's like night and day. And you just gotta watch it. Like, it really messes this dude's head up. He's like, you can't be right. You can't be right. And Kenshin's basically like, well, I want you to find out for yourself who's right between me or Shishio. Like, it's just so deep. Just watch this show. I'm serious. Rurouni Kenshin. Watch this show. Alright, peace.